see if this is working. If we're lucky, it is. It usually takes a good second or two to turn on. Let's just make sure we're all live. All right, I believe we are live. Hello everyone and good morning. It's a nice relaxing morning today, and I'm going to quickly make sure the link goes out for people on Instagram. I'm going to be doing a lot of very chill session preparation. Just want to make sure that this link goes out to everybody. Here we go. And here we go again. That should work. Perfect. And the plan for today, because mainly I just needed to force myself out of bed and not relax all day because it is my day off of work. So I figured we'll get up. I already ate breakfast, cleaned a little bit. Now we're going to get some actual work done. So I have a nice cup of tea, raspberry leaf tea for anybody who's interested. I suggest you get yourself something to relax with, get a cup of tea, make yourself a smoothie, and just sit down. If you're doing work, get it out. Let's not procrastinate anymore. And we're just going to hang out all morning. Or at least until I'm ready to be done with this. So a lot of you guys know I'm currently in the process of moving all of my stuff from Google Drive to my Notes app. I do get some very, very good recommendations on other things to use that are not just like AI training models off of your work, which was my biggest concern. That should be good. So today we're just going to be doing a little bit of a physical and online mix. Have my stuff over here for the physical work. And somewhere back here, I also have my notes that I printed out. I believe they're back here. Yes, they are. I have tons and tons of random things. Make sure these are printed. This is other paperwork. So last week when we were live, I did make a small little map. I hope you can see it. It's nothing crazy. It's just the interior for a building that my party's going to be in tonight, just because I like to give them some visual representation of where they are. Very small. They're currently in the northern dark part of the Underdark, and they have not found anywhere specific that they're going. They are headed towards the labyrinth. Right now they're in a small little town that I made up. I actually wrote a name down that I really like. I believe it was like One-Zaor, which essentially means to be among the climb. They're in a cliffside town. Cool stuff. So they're settling some homebrew things at the moment. And the small recap for those of you who are interested is there is in the book Rise of the Drow, which is one of the other books that I'm pulling information from, there is a moon shard in like the very first session of the game. I've kind of switched around how that works, and I've added a new character who is an avatar of Selûne, who has this moon shard. She has been given all her power through it, and she's currently been in a comatose state for not having the moon shard in her own possession. So what the party is doing right now is they have brought the moon shard back to her little village, and this is all the homebrew stuff that I've done, and they're essentially making the decision on whether or not they want to wake this young girl from her coma, or whether they want to keep the shard for themselves. And while the answer morally seems really obvious, I have it set up a little bit right now where allowing this girl to continue, she's going to stay as like a young child forever, essentially a slave to Selûne, where she has to give her entire life without aging to protecting the group of drow that she is with. It's supposed to be more of a twist on like, yeah, there are good drow groups. It's not all like Loth worshipping drow. There's also those who are more aligned towards a good deity. However, there's a lot of these like cultural nuances of the drow where it's still hard for them to be selfless towards one another, at least in this context. The drow always have been and always will be my absolute favorite part of D&D. That's why I'm running this huge campaign. So, I did print out, and I'm hoping you can see this. I do have my notes from Notepad for this week's session here, as well as a few other things. I have the Out of the Abyss book, because I need to start pulling a little bit from this, as well as the Matching DM screen from Out of the Abyss. Put these off to the side for now. And then I have my folder that's just full of maps, so I'm going to add this one to it. Oh, you know what? I can show you this too. I have a small map printed out, very hard to see with the glare, but they are kind of in this little area, right in between Civilization, the Oromikos, and the Labyrinth here. So that's kind of what we're working with. I'm going to put this map away because I don't need it for now. And I think later on TikTok I'll probably pack my bags and show you guys what I take for a 3 to 4 hour session. Nothing crazy. Then of course I have my portfolio as well. This is where I keep all of my physical notes. I have a bunch of sections. I have my spot where I physically take the notes during my sessions, as well as where my big printed handouts go. A handful of stat blocks are in here, and then I have some, not minis, I have some tokens in this folder. Now I'm missing, unless I'm not, oh no, I'm not missing them. I was going to say I have been missing some of my little stat cards, but they were just in a different pocket. So I also have in here some session notes that I've been using, but I just wanted to have on my person for the time being so I can read through everything at once. Isn't this cut pretty cool? I just really liked this little handle on the side. My cousin bought it for me. I'm going to pull these from my binder, my portfolio for now. And I don't think I need any of the written notes for the time being. But having written notes is something I'll always recommend. Like, filling up a whole page like this is really fun. And it makes it easier to know exactly what you need at what times. Alright, do I have anything from our last session that is important? Don't think so. I think all of this stuff I kind of have written down already. Okay, I'm going to put this off to the side as well. I brought more lights. I didn't know if it would be like distracting or if it would be helpful for the situation. You know what, it does kind of add a fun little color. It's one of these, like, it looks like a tesseract when it's on camera, but it, like, you can change the colors. It spins around. I think we'll do purple. Leave it in the corner over here. It doesn't make a huge difference, but it's kind of fun. Sometimes it'll like have the little waves crash over me. So, where am I starting tonight? What are we doing? Or this morning, I should say. I think I have everything I need for tonight already done. What I want to do is, in preparation of my party, going through what I have written really quickly, I kind of want to get started on the labyrinth materials. Just so that way I have a fallback if they just go into town and have decided amongst themselves, we're just going to kill the young girl, we're just going to take her stuff and leave. That can happen in the span of 30 minutes. This is not a very guarded town. They actually had a small combat session in our last session. Where they had fought pretty much all of the defenses of the village. It was very easy for them, which was intended. And if they just choose to take the stuff and go, they're going to end up in another small little encounter, and then they'll just be able to leave. So, what else do I have here? Oh, that's right, I had some small notes. Essentially, for this little moon shard debacle, what I'm doing for my party is, if they give it to her, they'll get some small powers. I actually can show you what I have in here. yes, if they end up giving the moon shard, they're gonna end up with undead horses to essentially have permanent mode of transportation. They've been relying off summon land vehicle, which is really funny. They're driving a purple Dodge pickup around right now with 4-wheel drive. Because summon land vehicle is one of my favorite spells ever, so I think it's funny. So they will get access to permanent horses, and then each individual player will get their own little blessing here. And then essentially I'm giving my druid access to 1 wild shape into the astral stuff. I'm giving my monk a new key point to do essentially, not 1 key point, 1 new action to take with key points, essentially doing a sleep. All of these are moon or space, giving him what is essentially the sleep spell with 1 use. My paladin will be getting an upgrade to his dragon breath rather than an upgrade to paladin damage. And then my sorcerer, who is a lunar sorcerer, is going to end up getting 1 free spell per day off of the small list of like lunar spells that I've chosen. And then of course, if they keep this for themselves, because these are all blessings that are essentially going to come from Selûne for reviving her own avatar, if they take it, they will have access to all of those things that I just gave to them. And then also, what else did I write here? Yes, I was going to do it so they would have to study the stone for a certain amount of nights to get a hold of those abilities. So it's like, okay, night 1, our druid gets her abilities. Night 2, our monk gets his abilities, and so on and so forth. And they'll also end up with, because they won't be getting, they won't have access to the horses as permanent transportation. Instead, I'm giving them what's essentially an ability to make their own constellation with the 4 of them and do like a ton of damage. I have 48 damage of light damage to anyone who's kind of in that constellation. This'll, I got really into this. Essentially 48 for the 4 players and 8 for the 8 noon phases. So they essentially have access to a ton of different stuff regardless of what action they choose. I didn't want to limit them by anything like that. As a lot of you know, I have to mute my mic sometimes because my office just so happens to also be in the boiler room. And I don't want you guys to have to listen to the sounds of the boiler ringing. So with all of that said and done, tonight's session, I should say, will come down to whether or not they have already made their decision. Because if they have, they will be in and out of this town very quickly. If they're going to scope around for more information first, I'm sure it won't take long. I kind of have it in my head where unless they do the classic party maneuver of wanting to talk to everyone in a 10-mile radius, they will be in and out of here quickly. So that's what we're planning here today. So I'm going to go into my books before I start doing anything. And I think I said this as well. I've been doing for the lunar sorcerer and keeping track of time. So how this is going to work, tonight is the 15th or the 12th day of Nighthall. So we'll be on the 13th of Nighthall, which puts us into, what phase are we in? A waxing gibbous. There we go. So, I'm essentially going to write, regardless of the decision my party, or I'm going to say the party has chosen, they will be on the road and headed towards the labyrinth they have been rightfully scared of the Oromicos. I think they had discussed not rushing right back into civilization. So, a few things to keep in mind as they progress further. I don't know if you guys have seen this DM screen before. It's really cool. And it's got a ton, I hope we can see any of this. It's got a ton of information inside of it, including the map and the madness stuff and transportation. So some notes that I want to keep here. Essentially, let me come down. Let's do madness as the party progresses further into the Underdark. They will have a much higher chance of encountering the Phasers. How the hell do you spell that, actually? Let me look down. Phasers. It's over here. F-A-E. Actually, you know what? I would not have been too far off. F-A-E-R-Z-R-E-S-S. This will make them roll off the madness chart. And how madness works in this part of D&D is essentially they have a couple different types. There's short-term, there's long-term, and then there is the indefinite, which is essentially the equivalent of being cursed. When they are this far away from the Oromicos, they very rarely are going to encounter, anything too crazy here. Just double checking to make sure. I think we'll be fine here. There might be a little bit as they approach the labyrinth, which is why I just want to write some of these down for me. To give myself some notes so I don't have to go back and forth too much. They will randomly encounter the Phasers. However, it will be sparingly in this part of the map. The labyrinth. Oh my god, why do I totally not know how to spell labyrinth? I know there's a Y in there at a weird spot. B-Y-R-I. The labyrinth will contain small pockets, but nothing more. Now let me actually look at the book here to see what they do. I'm sure there is a labyrinth section on here somewhere. I love the artwork in Out of the Abyss. It's so good. We definitely do not care about the knoll currently. It's a little too early for all that. Here we go. I actually think I have immediately almost found this. What is the Maze Engine? Maze Engine. Deep within the labyrinth lies the Maze Engine. Mechanical, magically powered device capable of altering reality. Most refer to the device as an orderer because it was designed to bring order to chaos. If the characters activate the Maze Engine, it has the potential to aid their fight against the Demon Lord. I'm going to be slightly altering some of the combat here. Oh boy, oh boy, oh boy. That was my phone falling for anyone who heard it. Let's see, chapter 14. Yeah, because they have it so much later in this book, but I just want it sooner just because of where they are. Essentially, I keep saying essentially because I'm tired, I just woke up. Since I'm doing so much homebrew in this campaign, my plan has really just been to pull from the locations, pull from some of the encounters, and change a lot of the creature ratings. My party is level 5 right now, or at least they will be by the end of tonight. And I didn't want them to wait so long for the labyrinth when there were other important things that they will need to be focusing on later. My boiler is about to ring again. I can hear it starting, so I will mute my mic in just a second so you don't have to hear all that. I'm going to quickly start skimming through this section. So the reason that I've selected the labyrinth this early on as something that's usually like at the very end of an Underdark run is to put them in a dungeon-like situation. So they will have, I also like the idea of giving them access to the maze engine very early. It has a ton of effects that will aid or against the fight. And I want to give them like a real boss encounter, probably just with some slightly nerfed stats. It's also a party of 4, and they are all pretty intelligent people, so I'm sure they won't be too pressed on that stuff. The biggest thing here is going to be me designing the labyrinth. So, let's see. I also want to check travel time. I don't think it's going to be more than about a day or 2 from where I have them located. It's really nice they actually show you it directly from in here. Let's get an idea of how close they are. Some of these names are so good. From the city of Slubuda to Velkinvelv, it's 8 days. So how close are they in relation to each other? They're very close. I'm going to say that it probably takes them from where they're sat to the entrance of the labyrinth, maybe 3 days' time. And if they get the horses, maybe I'll cut it into a day and a half. So, there's the end of this. More of the components needed for the demon summoning ritual, which I will still be giving them, although I'm not planning on having that happen anytime soon, can be found in the labyrinth. So there is plenty of random encounters already planned in here. I actually might just take this thing to... Actually, let's take a note of the labyrinth rolls here. So we'll call this Labyrinth Encounters. And then how does this work? It is 1 to 10 is no encounter, and then from 11 upwards, it gives you some small encounters. So 1 to 10 is nothing. 11 is 1 bit here. 12 is 2d4 flumps. Is it PH? Yes. 13 is a null pack. Hate the nulls. I did have a friend play a really cool null when I ran Pathfinder, though, and that was a wonderful character. He was like the null messiah of a demiplane. It was so cool. 1d4 Hizres. I'm just copying these directly from the book, by the way. Just so that way I can remember what I'm pulling up when they roll these. 48 means 17 is 2d4 minotaurs. Imagine fighting 8 minotaurs. That would suck. That would truly suck. I will probably change these on a fly if something like that were to happen. 1 monodrone. 19. 2d6 quagoths. And finally, on a 20, 1d4 shriekers. Alrighty. That's just a small list of the random ones. What else is going on here? I know what each of these are. It's not really a problem for me. It does show you random encounter locations, which is important because of when I designed this labyrinth. Most caves are small, about 30 feet in diameter. Tunnels in the labyrinth are 5 to 10 feet wide. Rifts shot through rifts and chasms. Blocked by stone. Yes, okay. Growls, hazardous means, monitor, blah, 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 blah. Alright. Adamantine Tower. The adventurers come across a tower haunted by forces of darkness. See, some of this is where I'm going to be changing things a little bit. So, vaulted chambers bristle with sideways, slowing your passage. Oh, that's cute. It gives me a little blurb to say to them if I wanted to. But I like to use my own. No ordinary structure. The tower is Darren's instant fortress. Dungeon Master's Guide. Made entirely of adamantine. 2 stories. Blah, blah, blah. Learn the tower's command words. 4 gargoyles. I'm not too concerned about this because time frame wise, I want this to be a little bit more outdated. First floor is an open room. Ladder affixed to the back wall leads up through a trapdoor to the floor above. Pile of bones moldering clothes out in the corner. This remains the tower's former owner. So let's start then with just a wide open space for the opening here. Does not need to be anything crazy. We'll do 10 by 10. Here we go. That'll be floor 1, a wide open space. And I have not used Dungeon Scrawl in quite some time. So forgive me if I'm a bit slow. Excuse me, forgive me if I'm a bit slow to remembering where everything is. I just need a ladder. Here we go. And it said the ladder is on the back wall that leads upwards. I think it'll be harder to see if I put it all the way back, but that should be good. There's supposed to be some bones in the corner. We'll do something like this. That's good. Throw them back here. Wonderful. Treasure. Search for the remains. Turns up 2 empty potion bottles and a potion of mind reading. So let's start going by loot. We'll call this loot by floor. Floor 1. And it said 2 empty potion bottles. 2 empty potion bottles. And 1 potion of mind reading. Second floor. This chamber has a ladder affixed to the wall that climbs to adamantium trapdoor leading to the roof. Trapdoor is closed and locked through the proper command word. Can be opened. 2 shadow demons lurk in the darkness. Floor 2. I'm going to call this loot and encounters. Loot and encounters by floor. Here we go. And this is 2 shadow demons. And I think I'm going to keep all of these. Maybe make them much smaller. Rather than 10 by... we'll do like maybe a 7 by 7. I think that might help a little bit in terms of... Oh, what have I done wrong? Oh, I totally don't know what I'm doing anymore. For some reason, it won't let me draw what I want here. I really have... all I know is I've made 5 floors on accident. Which is a little funny. Let's delete all these. Just need the 1. Once I can figure out how to do the 1, this no longer matters. Does it have to be on the back floor? It does not. I just know that I keep duplicating the layer on accident. So how do I fix this? It's not textures. should be here, dungeon presets. Oh boy. Walls, color, width, etc. Yeah, this is how you guys know I have no idea how to use this website at all. My thought would just be like, oh, I'm clicking it and now I'm using it. Oh, what is this? Object tool, rectangle tool, wall tool. Well, that's getting closer to what I wanted. What are these? Stairs, doors, select, walls, polygon, path, circle, rectangle. There we go. Okay, I have gotten it. So, let's try this again. We'll start around here, and we'll make 7x7s. I must have also totally changed the size of all of this, because these look much smaller. How many floors do we have? We have floor 2. Oh, you know what? I think I'm just wrong. I thought that what it was giving me was the adamantine tower. I believe what it's giving me, unless it is the tower, is the actual layers of the labyrinth. Hover on the top of the labyrinth for ages. Baphomet's influence glows. So too has the ferocity of his chosen servants. Okay, my tea's gotten a bit too cold for me to feel like drinking it still. Gosh of the Knoll. We have no fights, Mithra fights, just a lot of fighting. Into the maze. Minotaur's Maze fills with a region of the Underdark, a mile on each side. Network of quarters. I think what I'm going to do is actually leave the small tower to be fully just improv'd and not give them a map for it, because I think it's only got these 2 small little floors here, and then it goes into explaining the gnolls and minotaurs and such. So let's just call this 2 shadow demons. And what are they protecting, if anything? Top floor of the tower features an open space surrounded by a certain wall. If the 4 guards have not yet attacked the adventurers, they do so here. It's essentially just their opening, so that's fine. So we'll call this top floor is the gargoyles. I do not think I spelled that close to correct. Gargoyles. And then I believe is when we move on to actually entering into the maze. No single terminal. They explain the Gnoll group. Change the Gnoll to dutiful guide. Leads the characters to the passage after passage. So they can talk to the Gnoll and get themselves a small guide. Now is when we get to the maze itself. And I'm going to be shrinking the labyrinth. So like I said, I've kind of changed the timeline of the world. I have my second group, my second party runs on Sundays. And we are in a much more modernized setting to a point where the labyrinth is not as big and sturdy as it used to be. Which is why I'm just pulling mainly from the layout and the idea of the encounters from Into the Abyss, and not just like the word for word recreation of the labyrinth in this book. And I want it to be a little bit on the smaller side, just because I think it will be a lot to send them into this whole ordeal. But I'm quickly reading through this to make sure I know what I'm doing. Grish's Gathering. We just have a lot of Gnoll stuff. Most of the story become lost in its steps with a number of modern things. So after the Gnoll maze, you go deeper into the labyrinth. And this is more of like, you have the Gnoll town that's back there. The Monodrones are further back, the Modrones. A lot more of the Gnoll stuff. Gallery of Angels is a deeper cavern further into the labyrinth, which has more of these. Oh, and it has all the names of the angels that have fallen. That's essentially when you get to the maze engine. And I believe you fight the boss just about after that. Correct. Okay. So, I'm not sure if I feel like doing the entirety of building like a giant labyrinth map. I think I'm more concerned on the Minotaur maze and then kind of explaining to them what the rest of the labyrinth is, or just using some of my pre-made sheets, because I have a lot of like regular cavern-esque pieces of paper that I'll stick together. That kind of just like a lot of stuff like this that just makes up parts of the Underdark, which is probably what I'll use for a lot of the exploration deeper into the labyrinth. Right now, I'm more concerned about making a maze for them, which is not something that I've ever really sat and made. I've just taken other ones in the past. It said something about being able to have like a random map generator. I don't know where that would be. Whirling presets, lava road, etc. Nope, rectangle tool. No. What are all these? Textures, lighting, plugins. That's the export. Alright, I guess we are just gonna make it ourselves. And I think that should be somewhere around here is good. So you want to have some rooms. We'll do like a couple rooms on the outer parts here. Put my keyboard up now that I'm done drinking my tea. Just some small pockets, and then the main room in the middle. Let's make it 20 by 20. Few small little pockets on the outside. And then we'll try to make the actual maze. I believe I can use these pathing tools. So if this is going to be our entrance, okay, that does work. Awesome. So I'm just going to start putting stuff all around. I really have no idea if this is going to work. Like I said, I haven't really made anything like this before. That'll be this entrance. You know what? This tool makes it so easy, though, that I think I really can just start drawing lines all over the place. We'll say that they enter from this big room up here. So let's just start drawing paths all over the place. And then I'll connect everything at the end of it. I think that'll work well. Oh, wait, I don't know how I did that, but I did. That's awesome. I want to have a lot of room for them to just kind of be walking around, getting stuck at different places. How do I now? Oh, there we go. Awesome. Those will lead each other to the right spots. I have no idea how I did that last time. Actually, let's not put them that close, because then on a lucky spike, they might get straight through. Lead them to, like, another small pocket, like, right inside of here. Wrong tool. Just something like this, where they might end up in a small encounter. I also want it to be like, they can solve the map by looking at it, but it's going to be confusing enough that, like, I want there to be enough lines that they still feel like they don't know where they're going. Lead to a small room in this corner. Maybe another one over here. Okay, this is actually working so much easier than I thought it was going to. I want like one really long hallway that leads to one of the rooms. And I'm trying to avoid diagonals just because I think it prints a little easier this way. We'll have like a couple spots where you can get to a room from more than one, but like this one will be totally blocked off. I'm going to let that path go straight across from here. And this one maybe leads into like a huge room. Something like that. And maybe we'll even make like a smaller spot here, like a little treasure cove, just for them being able to get back there. Let's see, we will make it so they can come all the way up, but not fully make it there. Then maybe we'll make a connection to this spot. A little too far. Come back upwards. Make some dead ends. Oh, I definitely want to add a few more dead ends in here. Maybe we'll add like one more little room in this spot. And then we'll just start drawing in a small handful of dead ends. Even though I could fit another room up there, I just don't want to. Alright, this is looking pretty solid. I'm gonna have to print it on like 6 sheets of paper to make it big enough, but that's okay. So over here, let me go over to... I think I want to make a section for pacing. So first location, or we'll just call it, let's do it like this, pacing by location. Number 1 is the small tower near entrance. Number 2 is trip to Minotaur Maze. Number 3 is escape to cavern to Knoll. Number 4 is the Knoll Village. Number 5, I think, is kind of where you get towards the... We're going to see there's a small bit of cavernous travel. And then number 6, we will end with the angel encounters. And then 7, we finish with the engine and boss. In a perfect world, this takes them 3 weeks to get through. I hope. Maybe they'll be quicker than that. So I'm not going to worry too much about this stuff because I have that all in my book. Give that a quick save. So let's look on the items over here. We'll just throw in some bones. Kind of decorate the main area. Not too concerned with decorating the smaller ones. I just want to have like the idea that the Minotaurs are chomping on people in here. I know because there's a lot of ritualistic stuff going on. Maybe we'll throw it in like a little circle. That's pretty good. Alright, so I think we're done with that part of the map. I gotta do a little stretch here. And I want to pull my own notes back up again, just to make sure I know exactly what I'm doing later. So, for tonight, I have their session recap. Party's main goal of the session, remnants of the village. So you decide what they're going to do with the girl. It is really funny how I wrote my little timeline for tonight. I said, if it's going to happen, it'll take about an hour to collect information, then about another hour to resolve it all. And then that leaves them with a good 30 minutes for their long rests and travel stuff, up to a full hour, and then ending the session, making their way into the labyrinth, starting with the tower. And if it's really fast, if we cut off that extra hour at the start, I have a feeling they'll quickly move through the small tower and then be stuck in this maze. And I believe that is all I have for this. I'm going to add these back to my little portfolio here. I might even... no, I'm going to hold on to them for now. I was going to say, there's a lot of notes in here that I don't need, but I think I'm going to get rid of them after they've made it into the labyrinth. Once they're at the point where they're fully in it, I'm going to get rid of some of the older notes that I know I won't be using anymore. And let's see, maybe I'll write a few of the more important stat blocks down. Let's see what they have in here. Creatures appendix. Oh, and I'll definitely give them some, their first real magic items after that. Some of these I might just have to pull from the monster manual. But I don't know if any of this stuff is directly in here. Troglodyte champion, that's awesome. Okay, creatures. Mounted characters, and then the Pudding King. Oh my god, I gotta read about why that guy exists. That's awesome. Small humanoid gnome shape changer. That's awesome. And then immediately it goes to Demon Lords. There's the Demon Lord Baphomet. That's awesome. So here's how this is gonna be, because he is supposed to be kind of just at the end of the labyrinth here. Does it actually have a creature rating for him? Let me see. I don't even see one, actually. That's kind of funny. How am I gonna change it so they're not fighting the Demon Lord here? Let's see. Oh, I do like this. Plant life within 1 mile of the lair grows thick and forms... I'm gonna totally write this down. So, leading to the Demon Lord. So I'm gonna change how that works to fit my story a bit better. I want that in all caps. Leading to the Demon Lord. It says, plant life within 1 mile of the lair, grows thick and forms walls of trees, hedges, and other flora in the form of small mazes. Ah, so the maze is made of wildlife. Maze is made of wildlife. Beasts within 1 mile become frightened and disoriented. They're constantly under threat of being hunted. If a humanoid spends at least 1 hour within the mile of the lair, they must succeed a DC 18 Wisdom saving throw or descend into madness determined by the... Oh, he's got his own little table, the Baphomet table. Creature that succeeds can't be affected for 24 hours. Okay. 1 hour of being in the lair. Needs to roll on the Baphomet madness table. Awesome. And then that lasts 24 hours. His little things are anger consumes me, degenerate to beastly behavior, world is my hunting ground. Okay, a lot of angry stuff. That makes sense. So, hit points. He's got 333 hit points. That's not too big of an issue. Armor class at 22 is the bigger problem, which I will definitely be dropping. Essentially, the deities that I'm using are going to be a little different in my games. So they are not going to be full on like, and I'm in the 7th layer of hell or wherever Baphomet is. I'm in XYZ layer of hell and I'm really strong. I'm a strong guy. I'm going to nerf him a little bit. Keep most of his abilities and most of his spells. He'll still get his legendary actions. But I'm essentially just going to nerf the damage a bit. Like a 17 to hit will not be happening. He's going to be a much weakened version. So, let's come down here. In his weakened... That doesn't look right, but whatever. In his weakened state... Baphomet... Am I spelling his name right? Yes, I am. In his weakened state, Baphomet's stats are much lower than they are in the book. His actions and spells will stay the exact same, but he will be a weaker version of himself. I didn't capitalize this. Whoopsies. There we go. Alright, so what does he have here? Strength 30 is the biggest issue, and Constitution 26 is also a big issue. Everything else, even like his Wisdom 24, I might leave. I don't think, in my mind, it doesn't make sense to lower Intelligence, Wisdom, and Charisma. His mind is not what's gotten weaker, but his body over time. Baphomet has advantage on saving throws. Like, that stuff is fine, in my opinion. Weapon attacks are magical. That stays. It's a magic weapon. Reckless attack, essentially. Then he just gets to hit people. He's got a ton of hitting. Frightful Presence. Each creature of Baphomet's choice will be DC 18. We can frighten for a minute. What else do we have in here? The Demogorgon guy looks extremely cool. Fraz Blue. Yeah, we're nowhere near any of that stuff. Grazit. We're gonna Grazit. The Jublix. The Orcus. This guy's extremely cool. Now I'm just looking. Yinogu, the Null Queen? Is Yinogu the Null Queen? Do I remember that? Nope, it's a man. I kind of remembered. Zugmoy, this guy looks crazy. I hope you guys can see this. That is extremely cool design. That is a lot. And then these are just some of the others. Okay, so I need to put a pin in this page. And by a pin, I wish this one, my Rise of the Drow book has like the little clippy bookmarks. You can fit in between the pages. Instead of doing that, I think I'm just going to put a normal map in between. Probably just grab my regular combat maps. There we go. Because that's what they'll be fighting anyways. And we can shut this. So that's totally done and taken care of. So what are we missing? We're kind of missing the resolution. So as the party makes their way to the end of the labyrinth, it's YR, they will have the ability to pick up the materials needed in, out of write OO? It should be out of the abyss. This won't matter for quite some time, but they should still grab them. In terms of simple story overlay, this will end the Faith.Wisest/madness abilities in the labyrinth zone, giving them a higher reputation for when they leave and make, oh my goodness, I can't type it all, make it further north into, we'll just call it the cities. Oh boy, so what they're essentially, I keep saying it. What they are working on right now is kind of establishing themselves. What I did to get them in the Underdark in the first place is I sent them from Neverwinter underground, and I can hear the boiler's gonna go off, so I'm gonna have to mute this again. But sent them from Neverwinter to underground. Let me pause real quick. I'm back. They were shoved underground due to a Ballist cult plot succeeding, where the king had sacrificed his son in order to essentially summon, like, a classic ball stuff. There is a burning blood rain that is essentially scorching over the Sword Coast. My Sunday night campaigns takes place not in the Swords Coast, but in my own homebrewed country to the left called Embaron. Essentially, they are overseas. They are also, I believe, 6-ish months ahead of this campaign that I'm planning for right now. So what that means is that they have received some word of all these things happening, having it been in the future. And when my Underdark party gets a small time jump, which they will be getting within the next 2 real-life months, they will now be even with my above-ground party, and they will all be heading towards the same locations. We are doing I'm doing a couple trips coming up in the future, and I want to end up having both my groups in one sitting, so a lot of stuff to come. But essentially, they are currently just working on making their way north towards some of the bigger cities like Menzoberranzan. That's where they will probably end up meeting with my Sunday groups. So anyways, I just want to finish what we're writing here, and then we'll probably be about done for the mornings. After the party has finished their business here, they will begin to head north. Their first stop will be in the city of, what's the big city for them? Pull out the nice map. Where do I think they'll end up? They'll be in the labyrinth for quite some time. When they pop out, they have a few cities. I mean, I could send them towards the Neverlight Grove at the start of it, or if they pop out to the west side, I don't know, I have not decided. It kind of depends, I guess, on which way they pop out of it. Because if they are coming up towards the right, I'm going to start sending them towards Velkenelf. If they're coming up towards north, I'm going to send them up towards Blingdenstone. And if they're coming out to the west, depending on where, I don't know. I don't want to send them to the Grim yet. I rather send them, and I don't want to send them back down to Chichillo. I rather them head upwards. I think in a perfect world, they are exiting the maze towards the east, and since I'm in charge, I'm allowed to let that happen. However, they don't want to go near the Ormykos. which is the biggest issue. So I'll probably end up sending them up towards Blingden Stone for the start here. Which, again, I know has weird overlap if you've read through Out of the Abyss or Rise of the Drow, but that's why we're just pulling small things and not doing it one after the other. If I send them to Blingden Stone, I can have them make a stop in Menzo-Bronzen before any of the crazy plot stuff happens. And then maybe send them towards Chalcin before. That's probably how we're going to do it. So I'm going to say that they will be headed towards the Neverlake Grove and further upward towards Blingden Stone. This will be in the city of Blingden Stone after heading into and out of the Neverlight Grove, which is stuff that I can plan for way in the future. This does not matter at all right now. So it has been an hour, shockingly, and I am very much prepared for my session tonight, no matter which direction that it goes. So I hope you all enjoyed today's live stream. I will obviously be live again next week, either on Thursday or Friday. Let me check what's going on the calendar here. Thursday of next week is the 12th. I will more likely than not be live on Friday next week, but we will see what happens. So everybody enjoy.